Your body is holding something right now. Maybe you don't know what it is, and maybe you've never been taught how to feel for it, but it's there. In the tension you carry, in the way you brace, in the reactions that seem to come from nowhere. And most of us were only ever taught to look for the answers in our minds. But the body has been keeping its own record the whole time. And today we're going to talk about body memory, what it is, why it matters, and how somatic healing helps us work with what the body is holding. So hi, if you've not seen me before, my name's Mercedes. I work with people on somatic healing and nervous system regulation, and I weave in sort of bits of Buddhist wisdom as we go. And I've trained as a yoga teacher quite a long time ago now, and while I was going through all of that and all of my own personal practice, I noticed how when I could release certain tense areas in my body, I would release certain emotions that had been stored there, and particularly around grief and other things that I've experienced. And I realized that it's kind of like really normal. It's how the nervous system works. But most of us were never taught this. And so we spend years wondering why we keep reacting in the ways that we do, and we can't explain it, and we don't know how to release it. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand what body memory actually is, why it matters for healing, and why talking about your past often isn't enough. And you'll have one simple thing you can start doing to begin working with it. Right, so what is body memory? Well, when you go through things, your body isn't like a passive passenger that's just kind of going along. It's a bit like an active recorder. So every experience you have, especially anything that has an emotional charge, it gets stored, and not just as mental memory, but as a physical imprint. And I found particularly I stored a lot of grief and pain and suffering in my hips, and they felt really tight. And as I began to release them, I released a lot of emotion, and I could feel that when I was on the mat with yoga and for other things, and it made me a lot lighter in the end. So what happens is, as well with other things, is the nervous system can encode it. So it's not just physical tension, you can also get stored in the nervous system. And that can be seen in the posture that you hold, or the way your breath is suppressed, or just the tension for brace. And also it will store it up in terms of nervous system memory. So it will then pull up similar events when they happen. It will pull up similar responses because it remembers that it needs to react in a certain way. And so when something happens in the present moment that is similar to that past experience, your body will respond first. So it will suddenly like, oh, I know what's happening here. This is what happened last time, and it will respond. And that's often before your conscious mind has caught up. And it's why you can know something is safe and still not feel safe, because your nervous system is working on a pattern, and the pattern is telling it it's not safe. And that's where that will come from. And you may not consciously be thinking about the events, so the mind has moved on, but the body hasn't sort of learned that yet. So it's still stuck in that memory, is still being held there. And so this is why often talking alone isn't enough to kind of resolve these issues, because therapy and talking, and I'm not saying they're wrong because they have lots of benefits, but they're about our experiences, and they're genuinely valuable experiences, but it's about creating a narrative and understanding the context. And that's really great. So we've got that, we can understand the narrative, we can understand the context, we've got that all there. But it doesn't do anything about the body memory, because the body memory lives below that level of language. So we're not shifting that when we're doing the therapy. So you can understand completely why you feel the way that you do and still feel it. And that's because the imprint isn't in the story, okay? It's in your nervous system. So we've got that story, we understand it, and we're very okay with that, but the body still is like, well, this pattern is still running on a loop over here, and the brain's not doing anything to interrupt it. And that's what somatic healing addresses directly, not the narrative of what happened, but the physical residue that's left behind, the physical nervous system loop that's running in the background that we haven't actually dealt with. And the body needs its own process. So it needs movement, breath, sensation, and safety to actually complete what was never finished. So when we want to start working with the nervous system, we can start from a point of curiosity, not excavation. Okay, so we just get curious about it. And we're not trying to unearth everything at once, because this could be one of the things that happens as well. And I am very guilty of this, and I have done this. We go into our healing process and we start to uncover things and realize that this works. And so we think, right, we're going to just double down on this work and do as much as we can and release as much as we can as quickly as possible. and then I'm going to be healed. But actually what we do is we then have the reverse effect, because we just flood our system with all this locked in trauma in our body, and it just keeps coming out, and we don't have time to process and reintegrate it before we've moved on to the next release. And so actually we then can almost re-traumatize ourselves. So it's about taking it slowly and just starting to notice when your body responds before your mind does. So we start to become aware of it. We start tuning in to what's happening in our bodies. So if there's like a tightening or a holding of the breath or a sudden heaviness, these are body memories that are surfacing as signals. And so we're starting to get them, we can start to listen to them, and we can start to be aware of what's happening in our bodies. And at first, we're not even trying to get rid of those things. We're just being aware and being curious about what's coming up and how it's feeling for us. And when you notice that you don't rush past it, you just pause, and you can place a hand somewhere in your body that feels that sensation, or somewhere that feels like it represents it. So if you feel a tightening in your chest, you might just want to put a hand on your heart and just feel that and just breathe into it. So we're not trying to fix it. We're just showing our body that we're aware of it. And just the act of the awareness, the connection, the breath into it brings more safety to the body. So what we start to do is send a different signal to the nervous system. And not by going in there with a job like, this is how we're going to fix it, this is what we're going to do. Just, I hear you, I'm acknowledging you, I know that you're there. And we just do that. And you start to build a new relationship with your body, one where it knows it's safe to be heard. Okay, so we just work on that connection and that noticing and that understanding. And we allow what's there to be there. And over time, what happens is it gets a little bit fainter and a little bit softer, because it's been acknowledged, you've heard it, you've listened, and you've soothed it. And over time, we just soften it. So this is letter B, this video, in my A to Z of somatic healing. And if you want to work through the whole series with me, I'd love to have you inside my free group on school, the Somatic Reset Lab. And each letter gets its own area in the classroom, so you can just follow through and come back to it whenever you need it. It's completely free to join, and I'll drop the link in the description so you could join me there. And remember, if you've enjoyed it, to like and subscribe so you get to see other bits, but also other people will get to see this video as well, and we can reach as many people as possible. So thank you, and I'll see you soon.